Political commentator Kyle Kulinski recently said, "Woke is back." Is he right? I'll answer that. But first, let's hear exactly what he said.
Just like complete democratic tsunami, MAGA got wiped out, Zoran Mamdani, flawless victory, Mortal Kombat style. Woke is back. Woke is back, baby.
So Kyle says woke is back, but I think there's a misunderstanding as to what woke means. What I view as woke, what Kyle views as woke, and what conservatives think woke is are all different things. So I'm going to answer the question, is woke back? But first, let's step back and let's define what woke means to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing here. In the past, woke was a positive term, right? It meant you are educated and aware of the injustices of our society. Back in the day, social justice warrior was the term that we now use as woke. So woke was a positive thing, but today, woke is generally used as a pejorative, a word that is largely used by conservatives to mock liberals in their overperformative social advocacy. Here are just some of the things that conservatives say is woke. They say anyone who focuses on identity politics, political correctness, diversity, stuff like that. Conservatives like to use the term woke ideology. They sometimes frame this as a form of leftist cultural dominance, in schools, corporations, in the media, college campuses and stuff. Although I'd argue that leftism doesn't dominate our culture at all. Here is who conservatives say is woke. Here's who they think is woke. Social movements like Black Lives Matter, climate activists, college campuses, because they view those things as institutions that radicalize young people. And that's scary. They say Hollywood, Disney, Netflix, they're all woke because they focus on diverse castings, socially conscious films and TV shows. They often have political messages that they don't agree with, so that's woke to them. They say some corporations are woke, like Bud Light, Target, or Nike, because once a year they sell pride-themed clothing and they've been told that trans equals bad. So those are just some examples of what conservatives mean when they say woke. Now, Kyle is saying woke is back because the election results this year, just a few weeks ago, heavily favored the Democrats nationwide. And many precincts throughout the country, many counties as well, that went to Trump in 2024, flipped blue in 2025. So Kyle's argument is woke is back. He means Democrats are back. So woke doesn't mean the same thing to Kyle as it does conservatives. Let me explain further. Kyle's talking about all of the Democratic wins over this last election, from mayoral races to governor races to statewide prop votes. The Democrats had a huge blue wave this election. But then he says this.
So whenever anybody says, oh, left-wing politics can't win, democratic socialism can't win, it's our moment now, baby. Not only can we win, we can fucking dominate. We can curb stomp the competition in a way that fucking mealy-mouthed centrism, diet MAGA Democrat shit can't do.
So here, Kyle is defining woke as left-wing policies, democratic socialism. And he says that diet MAGA, mealy-mouthed Democrats can't win. Now, I have a little problem agreeing with that because Democrats across the board did well on election day. Not just the left-wing flank of the party like Zoran, but even those mealy-mouthed, regular establishment Democrats who I don't like at all, they did just as well nationwide. Many of them flipped Trump voting counties, but it's not just the politicians. Statewide props won throughout the nation as well. In California, Prop 50. In Maine, there were gun safety regulations passed. Colorado had some. Just a complete blue wave. So to clarify, it sounds like Kyle is using woke as like an umbrella term for Democrats, because as you may know, if you've been listening to him over the past couple years, he believes that the Democratic Party can be reformed. He believes socialist figures can rise up and reform the party. He also hates the false equivalence of comparing Democrats and Republicans, and I think I mostly agree with him on that sentiment that Republicans are way worse than Democrats. So anytime a Democrat beats a Republican, it's a win. I get that, but I don't do as much cheering on the Democratic Party because I'm a bit more jaded due to, I just can't let go of the fact that both major parties defend the corrupt systems that allow capitalism to create so many inequities in our country. But I digress. So to answer the question, is woke back? Well, based on the definition that conservatives use, No. The election results going heavily in favor of the Democrats a couple of weeks ago was more of an indicator, a referendum, on how unpopular the Trump administration is and how unpopular the Republican Party is in general. Now, Democrats are still largely feckless, weak, ineffective, all of the above, terrible, and they're unpopular as well. My point is, the newly revised version of woke is not back because it never went away. A focus on identity politics has never left the building. It's the old version of woke that is truly back. It's the being aware and educated on the economic injustices of our society that is back. And when economic injustices are talked about, it helps the social movements by extension because economic injustices impact every area of our lives. I made a video the other day talking about how the Overton window is shifting in the right direction on single-payer healthcare, slowly but surely. The injustices caused by the greed of private health insurance is on the minds of people from all regions of the political spectrum. Thanks partly to Luigi Mangione, thanks in part to the skyrocketing cost of health insurance premiums. Another example is Zoran Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist from New York City, who just won the mayoral race there with flying colors. And he has quickly become one of the most talked about politicians in America, thanks largely to his focus on economic justice, like making New York affordable, freezing the rent, free buses, soon to be single payer healthcare, all of those policies that address the injustices that everyday Americans face that are caused by capitalism, caused by the profit motive being the driving force of corporations that nearly monopolize our basic needs like housing, healthcare, access to affordable, healthy food, and much more. So Kyle is right that woke is back, but I'd argue that the people are becoming more fed up with the status quo, with the establishment, with the income and wealth inequality, where the 3 richest Americans own more wealth than the bottom half of America. The bottom half of earners is over 150 million people. People are becoming more aware of class struggle, becoming aware and pissed off about the economic injustices that flood our society. Those are the things that are making a comeback. So I didn't show the full video, but Kyle talks about woke being back. At times, he points out that the Democrats did really well and are set up to do great next year in the midterms. He points out that Zoran Mamdani killed it in the elections, which means that democratic socialism is up right now. I think he uses woke as an umbrella term for a lot of different things. But whatever conservatives think is woke, like supporting trans people, being supportive of immigration, whatever, what they call identity politics, those are the things that the Trump campaign was able to convince enough of the electorate was the problem. Trump's campaign hammered away on the narrative that trans people, immigrants, and corrupt Democrats are the reason you hate your life. Now, I'd argue that last one is probably true, the corrupt Democrats, but trans people, immigrants, no, we are not abandoning our support for them just because the greatest con man in the world was able to con millions of people into scapegoating them for all of our problems. So when the Democratic establishment analyzes why Kamala Harris lost, they do their autopsy and they start saying things like, we need to stop focusing on trans issues and we need to stop focusing on undocumented immigrants. They're just wrong. That's a smokescreen that they're using to distract us from the truth. The truth is Kamala didn't differentiate herself enough from Biden, and Biden's politics is exactly where the establishment wants to stay at. Kamala didn't lose because they were too woke or they supported trans and immigrants issues too much, which is the new woke. It's the old woke that they didn't adopt heavily enough. It's the class struggle. It's the economic populism that they failed to implement. The Democratic establishment, which, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's part of the establishment, they don't support single-payer healthcare. They don't support a wealth tax. They don't support the Green New Deal. They don't support UBI. They don't support clean elections and getting corrupt money out of politics. That's what we want, and that's what the American people need. And they're not going to give us that. But Kyle thinks that the party can be reformed, and I halfway agree with him on that. I think it could. So yes, Kyle is right that woke is back, but the way that he uses the term as like an umbrella definition for a bunch of different things, it might be a little bit confusing. Just know that class consciousness, class struggle, economic populism is back, is on the rise. That is what's back.